Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting edition of Beyond the Game. Beyond the Game brought to you by Batesville Chrysler Dodge Jeep, Gillenhow Funeral Home, Acra Automotive, Decatur County Recycling, Walters Tire, Hamilton Tebby easy for me to say, Hamilton and Tebby Law Office, and Byrite Auto. Tom Fleming and Jason Simpson live here in studio. Josh joining us live via satellite from Wisconsin. And guys, we have to say it. He is in the process now. He started the process of getting married.
Yep.
But already being treated like he's married. I'm sure the future Mrs. Ryan Higginbotham put her foot down now and said, I've got something for you to do. It's a honey-do list. So Ryan is not with us this week.
He actually had to go to a wedding.
Air quotes. You guys can't see it. Well, maybe you can on the YouTube stream, but we air quote that he had to go to a wedding. Nope, that's called the missus now says, I wear the pants in the relationship. I tell you what to do.
And Josh, I told Jason and BJ that I can't believe that Ryan didn't confide in us on the show last week that he was going to have some major event in his life going on. He didn't trust us.
Well, I don't know why that would be, but who goes to a wedding at 8 a.m. in the morning? I mean, some things are just more important. Some things are just more important.
I guess they have some of these special things that are doing breakfasts and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's crazy. I want to mention before we get started, Overtime with Messer. Excellent episode on Wednesday evening. They had football and cross-country coaches from Greensburg. You can go on YouTube, WTRE Radio for Overtime with Messer. And congratulations to my alma mater, North Decatur. This week in two of the polls, they were ranked number one in the state in 1A. So congratulations, Coach Stern and the Chargers.
Very cool accomplishment for them. And you know
what it's like being number one.
It's a big old target, I'll tell you that. All joking aside, I know that we are kidding, but a big congratulations to Ryan on number one, being able to stay so cool, calm, and collected last week. Like Tom and I were just talking during BJ's mixtape, Josh. Never seen a dude show no sign whatsoever that a life-changing event was getting ready to take place later that day. Had no idea. I was blindsided when we got the text, but congratulations to Ryan and the future Mrs. Ryan Higginbotham and their engagement last Saturday.
Absolutely.
So, Tom was thrown a bit off guard last night, Josh, because it's a good thing I sent that text. I knew it was his turn to have the hot take of the week. Little did he know that it was his turn to have the hot take of the week. But I have no doubt whatsoever that he will be able to provide what it is. So, Tom, who's checking into the Hot Take Hotel this week?
Well, as I thought about it and things that I read and saw on TV over the course of the week, I'm thinking about Caitlin Clark. She missed 31 games for the Fever this year. They've been trying ever since the Unrivaled League, the 3-on-3 league that takes place from January till the middle of March. They tried to get her last year, and they were talking about, because everybody in that league makes over $100,000 a year. That's the minimum, which is more than most WNBA players make for a whole season. Their offer that was reported to Caitlin Clark was $1 million plus equity in the league, which they thought almost broke even last year, projected to break even this next coming season, and then the following season start turning a profit. So they're doing better financially than the WNBA ever did. The other part of it is, if Caitlin Clark signs with Unrivaled and plays, that is going, you talk about a sphincter tightening up. All those people, all those owners and management of the WNBA, they are going to be tight as can be at the thought of their cash cow playing in this other league when they don't even know if there's going to be a WNBA season next year. because they can't come to an agreement. They've got till October 31st to sign a new CBA. There's no guarantee that's going to happen with how far apart they reportedly are. So for me, I think Caitlin should play in Unrivaled. First of all, to get her back in game shape for the next WNBA season, if there is one, and also to put a little bit of pressure on the owners and management of WNBA to make a deal with the players' union. So that's my hot take.
That she should play in Unrivaled? Yes. I think that in spite of the fact that she missed a vast majority of the season this year, is going to miss the playoffs where they ended up. I mean, they snuck into the 6th seed out of nowhere. It was a question there if they were even going to make it, and then they ended up in the 6th seed. I think that you definitely do believe this, and you would be all for it. And, yeah, I in no way think that you would dissuade her from playing in that.
Yeah, so I'm not just doing this to be a little bit different. I want to think that you believe that, Tom, but I think with light of the fact that, or in light of the fact that Caitlin missed the, majority of this season, and even when she did play, she wasn't 100%. I know how much you do like the WNBA and how important it is for them to get that CBA and for her to come back healthy and be that franchise superstar that she was last year, and for the Fever. I think you care more about the Fever than you do the Unrivaled League. So I'm going to say that you do not believe that, and you think she should sit out to rest up for the WNBA season.
Well, oddly enough, you're both right, because I don't know.
That is one hot take.
Yeah, I see both sides of the argument, and obviously, my first thought is how it's going to affect the Fever. That's my number one thing. But then the other part of it is, you would be talking about her basically missing an entire season when the next WNBA season starts, if there's one at all. Again, management is way lowballing them, and I don't think the players should get everything they're asking for by any stretch of the imagination. But I do believe that if Caitlin played in Unrivaled, a deal would get done quickly with the WNBA and the Players Association. So if I had a gun to my head and I had to say one way or the other, I think she should play. So there's my hot take.
Well, Josh, as everybody knows, you are a resident conspiracy theorist. So I have to know, because I've seen some things, and some of it has come from Dockich, and we know he just loves to stir the pot, and I love that about him. Do you think there is something nefarious going on behind the scenes when it comes to Caitlin Clark and her injury this year, that it may not be an actual injury and there is someone or some entity encouraging her to sit out? Or is it an Andrew Luck situation where she was injured doing something totally unrelated to the Fever and to basketball? I didn't know if you had tinfoil hatted this or not.
The third option on that is, was she more severely injured than what the Fever reported? Did they just string people along saying, well, yeah, it's game to game whether she's going to play or not? So was she really more injured than was reported, and the WNBA just kind of kept it under wraps that she was, 15 games into the season, that she was going to be out for the rest of the year? Josh?
Are you still with us?
Sorry. Yep. I was on mute. Sorry, fellas.
No, you're good.
You guys have me intrigued with the WNBA at this point in time, because you do know I love a good sports conspiracy theory. I hadn't heard anything that are people saying that she's sitting out to help the WNBA in CBA negotiations, or what's kind of the rumor going around? And then I'll give my take on that. There's
really not any rumors. A couple people have One of them, Skip Bayless. I can't believe anybody's
Oh,
still
boy.
listening to anything he says. But he was the one that started the theory that, well, she was really much more injured than the fever let on. And the WNBA kept that under wraps to get people still tuning in, still showing up for games. Because even with her missing as much time as she did this year, the WNBA on ESPN, their ratings went up 6% from last year to this year.
Without her.
9 of the top 10 games on ESPN were fever games, whether Caitlin was playing or not. So, it's kind of when she got hurt against the Sun on the next to last play of the game, was she more severely injured, and did the WNBA cover it up how injured she was to keep the fans coming and watching? So, yeah, that's kind of out there from a few people.
I mean, that would be the smart play, to keep saying that, yeah, she's coming back, or, she's not that injured. But I don't think so. I mean, if you look at her game log, now she did play the first 4 games of the season and logged 38 minutes in her final game, and then she was out for about 3 weeks, and then came back for 5 games. 2 of them conveniently were the Commissioner's Cup, where she came back for.
No, she didn't play in those. She was out for that.
I'm looking right at it, right? Against the New York Liberty and
it was against
Sun?
the Lynx.
Well, she played more than 1 game, right?
No, she didn't play in the final.
Oh, yeah, right. But she played. But isn't there something leading up to it, like the in-season tournament?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to defer to you because I'm just looking at this. I have no clue, but and then she played for about 10 days and then sat out. So I don't think that Caitlin Clark is embellishing an injury or the fever withholding how serious the injury was. Soft tissue injuries are a real thing, and they happen all the time. I mean, how many times has Kawhi Leonard sat out for a strained hamstring, or I mean, there are guys all the time in the NBA that are sitting out for this type of stuff. So if she is getting backlash for it, it's undue, and I just don't think that the WNBA is in a place where they should try to power play this into saying, well, if she leaves, then we're gonna, I think they had to have all hands on deck this year, and yeah. So no, I have no conspiracy theory on that one. I'm sure I could find one for you guys if you want me to, but
what is
not on this.
What as far as the impact of her playing in Unrivaled?
I don't think it impacts the WNBA in a negative way whatsoever. I think she is the brightest shining star that they have, and it's not even close. And we've talked about it. When Steph Curry and LeBron finally retire, if she is able to come back and continue to play at the level she has, Caitlin Clark might be the most famous American athlete that there is.
Yeah, there are people that are trying to say, Paige Becker exceeded her. No, by no stretch of the imagination did Paige Beckers have a better rookie year than Caitlin Clark.
And she did have a very good year, but guess what Caitlin Clark did? Took the worst team in the WNBA to the playoffs as a rookie.
Yep.
But anyway, I think all it does with somebody like her is it raises both leagues. Not that she doesn't already have about every eyeball on her, but going to Unrivaled is yet another avenue to put eyeballs on her. You could get some new fans in that way that may not have been exposed to her yet, and then they follow her to the WNBA. And, all it does, when you have a guy, and we have talked about him on this show and the power that he wields, right? He wields. He doesn't yield it. He wields it. Yeah. But when Dave Portnoy is one of your biggest fans, the more you can be out there and he can sing your praises and put you out in front of his viewing audience, all you are doing, yes, I know that you're putting her out there even more and raising her popularity, but whatever she's associated with is going to become more popular too. So if I'm now granted, this is how we know it's not going to happen, because you're expecting the WNBA to do something smart. If I'm the WNBA, I'm encouraging her to play in Unrivaled, because all you're going to do is raise your popularity even higher than you already are. You're going to get even more exposure. And during those Unrivaled games, you can't tell me that the fever in the WNBA wouldn't be mentioned.
True.
And so it's free advertising. You know, if I'm Nike, I'm saying get to Unrivaled, because we're going to sell even more shoes than we're going to begin with. We're going to sell even more Caitlin Clark merchandise. And I'm assuming it's just like the NBA. I'm assuming the WNBA is Nike uniforms and jerseys. So we'll sell even more jerseys and things like that. So it's something that makes sense. The WNBA brass that is in charge of the league is about as inept as the NCAA. So we know it won't happen, but it probably should.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think she needs to play in it if she's healthy enough to play in it. You know, I was kind of thinking along the lines of, of how impactful she is, and for the WNBA and for just women's basketball in general. You know, I haven't heard anything about the WNBA. Now, obviously, you guys know I keep up with all sports, whether it be tennis or soccer or golf or basketball or football, whatever. And I haven't heard anything about the WNBA since essentially she's been out with injury.
Yep.
And I know they're coming up on the playoffs and things like that. But, you know, I feel like that Caitlin Clark, and we all know how big she is, but when people say, oh, well, Paige Beckers this. Well, to me, Paige Beckers is like I'm trying to think of a in a wrestling sense, Tom. Like, Caitlin Clark is Brock Lesnar. Caitlin Clark is The Rock. Like, if you know that they're going to be on a SmackDown or a Raw, you're watching it. And you're watching every game, right, Tom? Or every SmackDown and Raw, Tom? Or
yeah,
for the most part.
Yeah.
So, but Jason, if you found out that The Rock was going to be on a SmackDown or a Raw, would you try to tune in?
Oh, 1,000%. And if I couldn't tune in live, I'm finding the replay on YouTube and I'm going back and watching it without a doubt.
Absolutely. So Caitlin Clark is Tiger Woods. You know, if Tiger Woods is playing in a tournament, you guys are watching it. I'm
100%.
watching golf no matter what, but you guys are watching it if Tiger Woods is. If Caitlin Clark is playing in Unrivaled or in a WNBA game, I'm not watching everyone, but I'm following along of what's going on.
Yep.
If Paige Beckers is playing or anybody else is playing, I don't care. I haven't thought about the WNBA in about 3 weeks since she's been out, or 4 weeks or whatever, unless I hear, oh, Caitlin Clark's injury, this or that. So she needs to play in it. She needs to do everything they can to, or the WNBA and women's basketball needs to do everything they can to get her to play in it. And Paige Beckers, I mean, she needs to play in it. But,
and Angel Reese needs to be kicked out
and
of
Angel
the
Reese
league.
and she needs to be out of the whole league. But until women's basketball embraces Caitlin Clark and her superstardom, they're going to be in the same situation forever. People don't want to watch the WNBA because 90% of what you see in the WNBA is negative. It's just negative unless Caitlin Clark is playing in the game and she brings some positive until there's a cheap shot or you're talking about the officials. Like what we talk about in the WNBA is all negative unless she's playing. So, yeah, they need to convince her to play. And, you know, I'm trying to look up some of this stuff about the CBA and discussions. And, you know, I know that they want, obviously it's about more money and higher salaries and things like that. And they want more equity in the league. Well, they can have more equity in the league because the league's losing like $30 million a year. So would they have to pay more into the league?
Yeah.
I'm not real sure. But, you know, I don't know where the CBA is going to, where it's going to end up. I have to assume that they're not going to lose a season or miss games. But if I found out one thing about the WNBA in the last 2 years, it's this. They'll do anything. They will, what's the phrase? They'll, I was going to say they'll do anything, even cut off their head to try to get what they want.
Cut off their nose to spite their face?
Yeah, something along those lines. I don't know what I was trying to say, but what I'm basically getting at is they will do anything to try to get a little bit more money, and if that's missing games, they don't really care. It seems like.
Well, Tom, you might know the answer to this. When it comes to their negotiations, we know that the WNBA is fully subsidized by the NBA.
Not fully. Not every team is owned by an NBA owner. There are a few that
But I mean, like the league itself is funded by the NBA. Like they provide.
supplemented.
If the NBA didn't give them money, they wouldn't exist.
No, they would lose more
100
money, but the
100%
NBA
they
is
would
not
not
playing
exist.
everything.
No.
But they-
I wasn't saying they were 100% in charge, but enough that it matters.
Yeah.
So when you're trying to negotiate this new deal, does Adam Silver have to be involved in the discussions with the WNBA commissioner as well?
Not that I'm aware of.
Because, they might agree to something, and then Adam Silver looks at it and goes, whoa, time out here. I didn't know if they had to get his say on it at all or not.
And you talk about how much money the league is losing. Man, it's like there have to be teams that are profitable. Teams like New York and Indiana, and what's one of the other ones I was thinking of? Vegas. Minnesota, those teams have to be making money. So it's not like everybody's losing money. With Caitlin, one of the other things is with Unrivaled, somebody's saying, we're going to give you a check for $1 million for playing for 2.5 months in a 3-on-3 with the court reduced in size. You don't have to play full court.
It's full court, but it's not full court.
Well, yeah.
They go end to end.
Yeah, it's just a shorter court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like the Big Three, or they started doing 3-on-3 in the Olympics, where it was just a true half court. This is a condensed full court. There's 2 baskets. They go end to end and things like that. And I've watched it. It's kind of fun to watch because it's pretty fast paced.
Yep.
That smaller court, and this would hit in Josh's wheelhouse. It's like playing at the high school compared to playing at the Armory. Things are more compact and it can get faster paced and things. And I think it's great that they don't try to throw 5 people out there. 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 on a court like that, and you can get some good basketball out of it.
Yeah, and plus they're offering Caitlin equity in the league, which again they're supposed to break even this year, turn a profit starting next year. And Jason mentioned, Caitlin led the Fever to the playoffs last year. They hadn't been in the playoffs since 2016. Paige Beckers, her team tied for the worst record in the WNBA. So who had the most impact as a rookie?
And she's
Obviously,
got
Caitlin
Arike
Clark.
Agumbawale on her roster with her, who's still a tremendous player in the WNBA of Notre Dame fame and national championship game-winning shot fame. Arike Agumbawale. I just like to say the name. That's why I keep saying it. Tom, are we done with Caitlin Clark and Unrivaled and everything? Should we go ahead and take our break now?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Beyond the Game brought to you by Batesville Chrysler Dodge Jeep, Gillenhow Funeral Home, Acre Automotive Group, Decatur County Recycling, Walters Tire, Hamilton Tebby Law Office, and Buy-Right Auto. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Beyond the Game. Beyond the Game brought to you by Batesville Chrysler Dodge Jeep, Gillenhowe Funeral Home, Acra Automotive, Decatur County Recycling, Walters Tire, Hamilton Tebby Law Office, and Buy-Right Auto. Tom Fleming, Jason Simpson live here in studio.
Guys,
Josh joining us live via satellite.
Before we get into the next topic, we didn't say it at the top of the show. We are streaming the
I
show.
was just getting ready to say that, Tom.
See,
You read my
great
mind.
Great minds think alike. Go to WTRE Radio on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell on there so you get notifications when we're going to be on.
There you go. All right. I wanted to ask you guys this, and without any analysis, just a very simple question. Are either of you surprised that the Colts won the game last week?
Yes.
Josh?
I'm not surprised that they won in the manner that they won.
Now,
Okay.
time out. No analysis
Okay.
just yet. I was surprised simply from the standpoint of this is what was so funny. We were talking about it at school, and Colin Rigney, who is now the dean of students, head basketball coach, and he's a very big Colts fan. Colin said, it was my senior year of high school the last time the Colts won an opener. And I just had to laugh. I'm like, good Lord, I was still coaching boys basketball the last time that they won that they won a season opener.
Yeah.
So I was surprised from that standpoint. But now to a little analysis of it, like, do you guys think that, and honestly, it could be a stew of all of this stuff. Do you think the victory was that way because the Dolphins are just that bad, or is it that maybe the Colts are a little bit better than we've been giving them credit for? Daniel Jones is going to be the type of he's not going to be MVP level or anything, but he's going to be the type of quarterback that Steichen has needed to do the things that he wants to do. And, maybe, because none of us had the Colts even at 500, maybe they're going to be trying to sneak into the playoffs at the end of the year.
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things that have to happen in the NFL to win by the margin that they did. Look, they scored on all 7 of their possessions, and
the last time that happened was what, like 1992 or something like that?
Yeah, and then that's almost impossible to do. So it was a great win. Miami's already having players-only meetings 1 week into the season, so I think Miami has already quit on what's his name?
Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDaniel. I think they've already quit on him. I think they did last year. We've known for a long time that Miami is one of the softest teams in the league since he's been there. They had a joint training camp practice with the Chicago Bears, and 3 weeks after that practice, they were still complaining that Chicago was too physical in that practice.
It's the NFL.
Well, we were getting tackled all the way to the ground and all that. Like, they were still complaining about that multiple weeks after, when neither coach seemed bothered by the physicality of those practices. It was all the players. When you bring in somebody like a guy like Tyreek Hill, and for as talented as he is and was, he was great when he had Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes kind of running that ship, not kind of running that ship, running it. And when you get a bad apple on a team with no player or coach leadership, your teams tend to go down the path that Miami is. So, look, I'm not taking anything away from the Colts. Daniel Jones did exactly what Daniel Jones has to do for the Colts to be successful this year. We've talked about their roster, and we said, look, with Daniel Jones starting, they're not going to be a playoff team unless they sneak into a 7 seed, and they're not going to be the worst team in the league. So they're basically in NFL purgatory. But if Daniel Jones can do that consistently, and not every week, because that's not the type of quarterback he is, but if he can do that more games than not, beat the bad teams and hang with the good teams, I could see the Colts going 9-8. There's a ceiling to what Daniel Jones is, and we're going to learn a heck of a lot more about Daniel Jones against the Denver Broncos this week. But you can't take anything away from how they played. We know that there's talent on that roster. And if all that Daniel Jones is tasked to do is get it to playmakers, Tyler Warren looked extremely impressive. Jonathan Taylor, although he didn't score a touchdown for me in DraftKings, still had a pretty good week. And they have
a shocking thing, it looked like to that point, it looked like Steichen finally realized, what is this, his third or fourth season as the coach?
Third, I believe.
Third, yeah.
Third year. It only took him 2 seasons to realize, hey, we need to force feed the ball to Jonathan Taylor. Like, run. Don't be afraid to throw it to him out of the backfield either. Like, good things happen when you get the ball in the hands of your best players. Only took 2 seasons to figure that out.
Yeah. So, look, Lou Anarumo, I didn't really care for him with Cincinnati, but he called a great game plan against Miami. So there's a lot of things that have to happen. And for the Colts to do in the NFL to win with that margin or by that margin. So the Colts played a great game. We know that they have talent. All our question was this offseason and why we said that they weren't going to win 5 or be 500, and I still believe they won't be, is because Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. But hey, look, if that's how Daniel Jones is going to play the majority of the year, they can make a playoff run for sure.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised that the Colts won, even though I picked them to lose last week. I didn't realize Miami was that bad, or did they look that bad? Because, like you said, Josh called an incredible game. Defensive coordinator did an incredible job with the game that he called when Miami was on the field, their offense. I did not expect Daniel Jones to play like that. Like you guys have kind of said, I don't know that you can expect him to play like that the entire season. The one thing I agree about Jonathan Taylor, my only concern is he averaged 3.9 yards per carry last week. You're not going to win against top teams in the NFL if you're averaging 3.9 yards per carry. You'll have because then you get some big runs, then you get some that you lose yards. You have to have a higher yards per carry than that. But other than that, I was pleasantly surprised with the Colts.
Well, and I think it's easy, and this is all you've heard all week. Oh, the Dolphins are just that bad. Well, Josh knows because he coached with me. Tom, you've called enough of my games to know those are the if a team is truly that bad, as a coach, those are the most maddening and frustrating games to play in. But it's like Curt Cignetti always says, just go out and win. You have to go out and be you. And that's the first time in quite a while I've seen the Colts go out and just say, don't care who we're playing, we're going out and we're going to take this from you. And they took the fight to the Dolphins, and Miami wanted no part of it. And so it was a very impressive win. But like I said, you still have to go out, regardless of how good or bad the team is, you still have to go out and win the way that they did. And you look across the NFL, I am in no way saying, again, that they're going to be like the number one seed in the AFC or anything. But there was not a more dominating performance in week 1 across the board, offensively, defensively, special teams, than what the Colts had.
Yeah, and the NFL is so crazy. Like you never really know going into week 1 what's going to happen. We think we do, and then you watch teams play in week 1, and you're like, wait a minute, what was that performance? And I think we all kind of knew going into the year that Miami wasn't great. We maybe didn't know they were that bad, but look what the Bengals consistently do in weeks 1 and 2. They snuck one out. They had 20 total yards in the second half against Cleveland and won that game. Detroit. Now Green Bay looks really freaking good.
They look good.
I watched that game Thursday.
That's not great for me. But they look really, really good. But were they that good, or are the Lions taking a dip down? They only had, I don't know what the final score was, but for a long time, they had 6 points. Maybe they scored a touchdown late or something to get it a little bit closer. But Green Bay has made Detroit and now Washington look very pedestrian. So it'll be interesting to see what Detroit does this week against Chicago. Are they taking a step back because they lost coordinators? And what happens when your teams are good for multiple years? You just lose players to free agency and things along those lines. But to see what Daniel Jones did and the Colts did, is week 1 a fluke? Was it just, they had all offseason to prepare for this and put the perfect game plan around Daniel Jones? We'll see when they play again at home, but to the Denver Broncos, who we all believe are one of the favorites to at least make the playoffs in the AFC. So week 1 is a little bit fickle in the NFL, but you got to take care of who's on your schedule. I don't think Daniel Jones is going to put up a 76% completion percentage for the rest of the year or no turnovers.
Excuse me, sir. That's Indiana Jones now. I'll have you know.
Indiana. I think we may be singing different praises because his last 2 years as a starting quarterback, he was 3-13. So
that because he was New York Jones. He wasn't in the right place. It wasn't his fault.
I will say there's something to be said about being the quarterback for the New York Giants, and Brian Dable is your head coach. But it'll be real interesting to see what he does tomorrow.
Well, we've come to really love it on this show with our new segment with hot takes and everything. I'm making a hot take after week 1, which is, a knee-jerk reaction. Week 1 in the NFL, like you said, Josh. Truly, outside of like the Packers looking unbelievable, you don't learn a whole lot. But I'm going to say in the AFC South, it's a 2-team race, and it is the Colts and the Jaguars are the 2 teams that are going to fight it out for this division. Tennessee is not going to be any sort of threat whatsoever, and I don't think that the Texans are going to make much noise. I think they're going to be below average. So I think it comes down to the Jaguars and the Colts, who, I mean, at best, one of those 2 teams was looked at as second place, but neither one was supposed to be a threat to win. Houston was supposed to run away with the division. I don't think Houston or Tennessee are even a threat. Hot take after week 1.
I was going to say, that is a hot take.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. Look, everybody was singing the praises, and I know, Tom, that you love C.J. Stroud, and I was singing his praises after his first year. He was very pedestrian last year.
Yep.
I mean, C.J. Stroud wasn't great last year, and everybody always kind of sat there watching each game like, what's going on with C.J. Stroud? Like, why is he not making this throw? Why is he not? He did that. He did it his rookie year. And are we going to be seeing the C.J. Stroud? Is the next C.J. Stroud? Is it Jaden Daniels?
Oh, I
mean, everybody loved Jaden Daniels last year. In his first 2 weeks, at least last game, he was 0 of 11 when passing the ball down the field more than 10 yards. Like, everybody loved Jaden Daniels, but guess what NFL teams have on Jaden Daniels now? A full year of film.
Was he Anthony Richardson dressed as Jaden Daniels? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying he's that bad now. Come on. But I mean, that when NFL teams have a whole year to scout you and take away what you're best at, not just, the last 3 games, the last 5 games, anything like this, you can only put so much in the middle of a week. But when you have all offseason to prepare for that, Jaden Daniels' strengths and weaknesses. C.J. Stroud's strengths and weaknesses. And it looks like the NFL has adjusted to C.J. Stroud. And through 2 games, it looks like the NFL is starting to adjust to Jaden Daniels. So maybe ESPN and every single major media sports outlet, we shouldn't crown Jaden Daniels the next Patrick Mahomes or the next Lamar Jackson until he does it consistently well.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
All I ever hear about, and look, Caleb Williams he missed open throws. He didn't play great. He didn't play poorly, but I don't think Caleb Williams can. If he said the sky was blue, you'd have about 90% of the people that would argue that Caleb Williams is wrong. And I don't understand. Maybe that's just being the Bears quarterback or what he's brought on to him. But you have all these guys writing articles about him and saying this and saying that. But everybody loves Drake May. What did Drake May do last week?
He was horrible.
He was terrible. Like we said he was all last year, and like we said in this offseason. It's the exact same thing with Arch Manning. Arch Manning could say that it's when it's raining that it's not raining outside, and people would believe him because his last name's Manning. What's he done his first 2 weeks? Everybody was crowning him as a generational quarterback. Like they're doing the same thing with Jaden Daniels. They're doing the same thing with Drake May. And until they prove something, why are we anointing these guys the second coming?
And Arch Manning, he's playing with a better offensive line than C.J. Stroud and Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams have. So he should be completing 70+% of his passes. He should be throwing 3 or 4 touchdowns per game and running for a couple. Green Bay Thursday night, it was just, I couldn't believe it ended up 27-18 because Green Bay just dominated that game. They just absolutely dominated it. I'm a little concerned about all these things that people are writing about Caleb Williams. This is his third coach, third offensive coordinator that he's had, and he's only played 18 games so far. So, give Ben Johnson a chance to get players playing at game speed some time to make the connection with the other players to get things turned around a little bit.
Josh, as the resident Bears fan of the group, I only saw the score early, and I saw they were playing well and they were leading and all these things. What exactly happened in the game that caused the Bears to end up losing?
Yeah, to me, it was 17-6. The Bears had the ball 1st and 24 or 1st and 10 at the Vikings 24. They had all the momentum. J.J. McCarthy, who for some freaking reason was the NFC Offensive Player of the Week when he was absolutely terrible until the fourth quarter. He threw a pick 6. The Bears get the ball back right away. They're driving. A phantom holding call pushed them back. And then a couple other negative plays, and they missed a 50-yard field goal, who I've got other issues with the Bears kicking situation. But, they missed a 50-yard field goal, and you could see the momentum changing there. The Bears completed a pass on that 1st and 10 from the 24 to get them inside the red zone. They get 3 points there. They score there. It's a completely different game. I think the Bears run away with it. But, old habits die hard. And the Bears consistently over the last, 10, 15, my whole lifetime, have blown leads in the fourth quarter. And you could see it happening in real time. It was kind of like a slow motion type thing. Caleb Williams started missing some throws. They were getting behind the sticks and just not playing how they played the first 3 quarters. But Minnesota also won 13 games last year. Minnesota also has a coach who's one of the top coaches in the league, in Kevin O'Connell, that's been there for multiple years. They have their system established, and they had stuff to fall back onto. And I just think that the Bears aren't there yet. It was basically Caleb Williams' first game. I know he had 17 starts last year, but I don't know if anybody should count those starts with Matt Eberflus and, like you said, Tom, multiple offensive coordinators and coaches involved. They kind of just they lost the momentum, and in the NFL and really in any sport, having the momentum, then losing it and trying to get it back is almost impossible.
Yeah, people need to ease up on all this. J.J. McCarthy is the next Tom Brady talk, just because he had a good final 5 minutes of that game and won. Like you said, he threw a pick 6. He didn't look great. But yeah, he's like the one that everybody is pushing now, that he's this great guy. And you mentioned the Lions earlier, and you sent out something in our group text last week. I don't know if we talked about it on air, but with Jared Goff, that he's only played well when he had either Sean McVay or Ben Johnson calling plays. Any other coordinator, he has not been the same level.
Yeah, and I was just listening to a Bears podcast on my drive back home yesterday. I was out in California for work, and they had the Lions beat reporter on there, and they have a new offensive coordinator, obviously, and they were talking about, is it the system or is it Jared Goff? And this guy said, well, Jared Goff is getting upset that people think it's only Ben Johnson or people think it's only Sean McVay. Well, I think that stat was a little skewed. I think Jared Goff is 3-17-1, now 3-18-1. Without Ben Johnson or Sean McVay calling the plays for him. So there are system quarterbacks, and then there's Jared Goff, who is the definition of the main system quarterback. And, so I know we haven't gotten to our picks yet. The Lions still have a ton of talent, but I think the Lions are in for some real trouble, even though it's hard to really – I mean, we're singing Green Bay's praises, but it's really hard to really say that Jared Goff is a great quarterback when he's 3-18-1 without Ben Johnson or Sean McVay.
Yep.
Well, and then, system quarterback is a very interesting way to say it, but is it necessarily the system, or is it like with Jared Goff, it's the person who knows his strengths and weaknesses and calls the correct play? Because you could pull him out of the offense they're running and put him in the exact same offense with another team, but if, like, say Sean McVay's back to calling the plays, is he going to be more successful simply because that play caller knows his strengths better than anybody else and is going to put him in situations? It's not necessarily the system. I think it's more the person who is putting him into. So, like, by system, I mean like the scheme and the plays that are available to be run.
Yeah. I mean, you're right on that. You have to put your players in the best position to succeed. And that doesn't matter if you're Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes or Jared Goff. But, system quarterback is often used, and I just used it in a negative connotation. It's not always that, right? Like, everybody said forever that Tom Brady was a system quarterback until he went to Tampa Bay and was just as good.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well, maybe he was just that good. And look, Patrick Mahomes could have been completely different if he didn't have one of the greatest coaches of all time coaching him, but he's gone through multiple coordinators, but Andy Reid is still the guy, right? And, so I think everybody's a system quarterback at some point in time, but, you could throw Josh Allen into any offense and that offense would instantly be better. Same with Lamar Jackson, same with those elite level quarterbacks. And if you have a guy like a Jared Goff or like a JJ McCarthy or I don't even want to say Matthew Stafford, because I think Matthew Stafford is one of those quarterbacks that kind of can play within any system. But you have to put your players in those positions to succeed. My problem and my only rebuttal to what you said, Jason, would be this guy had 2.5 years of tape of Jared Goff with Ben Allen or with Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson likes to run a lot of motion. Well, the Lions went from about 65% motion last year under Ben Johnson to the first week they went to 30% motion. And what motion is going to help you do is identify the Mike linebacker, identify man or zone coverage, things along those lines. Well, when you're not getting your players into motion, maybe Jared Goff doesn't read it as well. So,
well, there again, that lends credence to what I said then. The coach, the play caller, is not putting his player into position to be as successful as he could be.
Yeah. And also I look at it, it's not just the plays that the offensive coordinator calls on Sunday, but was it what Sean McVay and Ben Johnson did with Jared Goff from Monday through Saturday? And now the coach and offensive coordinator aren't doing the same things from Monday to Saturday to get him to perform on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I'm in agreement with you, Jason. My thing would be, this guy had all this tape. Why is he not doing that? And I think we're arguing the same point, or getting to the the same point with the different words. But yeah, I mean, look, if you have that tape and you see what he's done, why wouldn't you just try to continue to be successful doing that? So it'll be really interesting. I mean, two coordinators for the Lions that are calling their second games offensively and defensively ever, calling plays. And then you have the coaching staff of the Bears with Dennis Allen, was Sean Payton's defensive coordinator forever, called all those plays with the Saints. And then he was head coach for a long time for the Saints, multiple years anyway. So he knows the ins and outs of and how to call plays and when to call them. And Ben Johnson, the same thing. So the Lions have much more talent than the Bears, but the Bears definitely have that advantage on the coaching side. So, it's time for the Lions to get back to what Jared Goff does well, and that's where I said, I'm thinking like maybe week one is just a blip in the radar, because time and time again it is in the NFL.
Well, we got about 5 minutes before we have to take our top of the hour break, and so Josh, we can't get too far away from it. The 73-0 drubbing of the Sycamores last night at the hand of our beloved Hoosiers. And, so far this season, the first 3 games, you can talk all you want about the strength of schedule and everything. It's no different than what it was last year. And it looks right now that the script is following identically what happened last year. You can see the progression through the first 3 weeks and how much better IU has looked each of the 3 weeks and all those things. And what is still comical to me, correct me if I'm wrong, Indiana was in the football playoff last year, were they not?
They were. Yep.
They have absolutely dominated the first 3 weeks. And you can look at the final score week 1 and say that wasn't domination. Look at the stat sheet. They have dominated the first 3 weeks. But yet the disrespect continues over and over and over and over again. After week 1, a victory, mind you, against a bowl team from last year. Number 2, they drop in the rankings. Ole Miss, and sorry, Sam West, I apologize. Or no, Mississippi State, I'm sorry. Mississippi State, again, sorry, Sam West. Mississippi State wins a game for the first time in God knows how long against a meaningful opponent, and all of a sudden vaults into the top 25 ahead of IU. Why? We all know why, because they're in the SEC. South Florida, 2 good wins to start the year. Hey, congratulations. I'm not quite sure that win over Florida was – it's going to be like beating Florida State last year is the way that it looks. But they jump in ahead of IU, about 8 spots ahead of IU. So, Josh, make it make sense.
Guys, Florida State beat a really bad Alabama team at home coming off a season where they were 2-10. They win 1 meaningful game at home against, again, a bad Alabama team, and they're already up in the top 10. And they were 2-10 last year. I want to read you this before we go to break. I was doing my research on the picks this morning, and I was just going,